Hi, Mary here for Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and thank you for joining me for another fun and hopefully educational video. Today we're going to talk about something different. I'm not necessarily going to share lots of information about seeds. I'm going to share about worm tea. Now, I was fortunate enough to receive a 5-gallon jug of prepared worm tea from the ladies at KNC Worm Farm. I am super excited. They approached me a while back and they wanted to try and start shipping out their products. And before I get started, a disclaimer or whatever you want to call it. I'm not getting paid for this video. I just wanted to share some awesome information on worm tea. I have used worm castings to make worm tea, but this jug here is pre-made worm tea. So what is worm tea? If you don't know what it is, what's the big deal about worm tea? Now, worm tea is made from worm castings and water. Now, some people use blackstrap molasses in their preparation of worm tea, but this here is just worm castings and water. Now, what is worm castings? The simple answer is worm poop. So if you've watched any of my past videos, you know that I kind of have a thing about different manures. I'd like to share information about how to grow a healthy garden, but I also like to share how to grow a healthy garden with natural inputs. And this is as natural as it gets. So as worms break down decomposing matter, decomposing food and scraps, they are pooping. And that's what makes the castings is from worms. So specifically, I will share with you, worm tea is a natural fertilizer made from worm poop, worm manure in water. Like I mentioned, in a healthy compost bin, you have worms that are breaking down some of that material, and as they're breaking it down, they're creating waste, poop. And we use that poop, worm castings, to make tea. Now, I already mentioned what's worm castings, but of course, I always like to repeat myself. Worm castings is literally worm excrement, also called vermicast. Now, a really important question: can I drink worm tea? And the answer is definitely not. Now, this is what worm castings tea looks like. It's beautiful, it looks delicious, and while it is delicious to your plants, it is not something that is meant for human consumption. And you'll even see that on the label of this jug. Now, let me read this jug to you so you know what we're talking about. Like I said, KNC Worm Farm reached out to me. They said, hey, we want to be able to offer 5-gallon jugs. Would you try it out for us? So, of course, I'm like, absolutely. I've already purchased their worm tea bags to make my own worm castings in the past. So this was just a no-brainer. So let me read this to you. This worm tea is made with worm castings, worm poop, put through a bubbler process to make a powerful liquid for your plants. No BS, just water and worm castings. I love that. I love these ladies. They're right up my alley. Now it says, this product will not burn your plant root system and can also be used as a foliar spray. Do not be afraid to use a little or a lot based on your desire for your plant life. Simply shake and use. And the last sentence here, which is silly, but I know that it has to be said, not for human consumption. So while this might look like a sweet tea or iced tea that you drink on a warm sunny day, do not drink worm poop tea. Doesn't sound very appetizing. So what are the benefits of worm tea? These are amazing nutrients that will nourish your plants, and it's not going to burn your plant. So that's super important. And I'll get to my next step will be how to apply it and how much you can apply it. But the great thing about worm tea is it can act as a pest control, and it will not harm your pollinators. And if you've been around Mary's Heirloom Seeds any number of days, hours, years, you know that we are all about planting for pollinators, and we are very conscious of our pollinators when we grow, when we plant, when we fertilize. We don't use and don't recommend any synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers in our garden. We really want to have the most natural and healthy garden possible. So the benefit of this is you're going to keep your plants healthy. A healthy plant can fight off infection, disease, and pest much better than a kind of not so healthy or a sickly plant. So super important if you want to have a healthy garden. This is one of many options. It can help prevent diseases and pests both in your soil and with your plants. It can deter pests, and also it can provide beneficial bacteria for your soil. Now there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria, and this can promote healthy bacteria in your soil to help grow healthy plants. And we all want healthy plants, right? Studies show that germination and seedling growth is improved when you use worm tea. So you can actually soak your seeds in the worm castings tea. You can water your seedlings with the worm castings tea. You can water your plants. So it is multifunctional. Sometimes I like to soak my seeds before I plant them. So I'm going to be trying to soak it in worm castings this year as well. So I'll give you a little bit of a feedback later on. Once I get a couple more seeds started, I already have a ton of seeds started, but we're going to go ahead and do a new experiment with this as well. So for those of you, this may be a repeat. I tried to go live on YouTube a couple days ago and I could not for the life of me do it. So I shared all this information on a live Facebook chat. But I had a couple people, obviously, maybe they're not on Facebook or they don't want to watch the live video. So I'm resharing this information in a YouTube video, and I hope you enjoy it. In the description section of this video, you will find links to my comprehensive planting guide, links to different getting started on growing, and also a sign up if you want to receive emails as well. So hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you get a chance. Now, how often should you use worm tea? I promised I would share this information. Now, as it says on the bottle, you can use it as often as you want. How cool is that? But general application, you can use once a week for your vegetables, every other week for your garden. You can use it on your lawn. You can use it on your plants in your garden. You can use it on your indoor plants. You can use it on your flowers. You can use it on your herbs. You can even use it on your fruit trees. So that is amazing that it is an all-in-one. You can use it wherever you want to use it, in the garden, or like I said, on your indoor plants. And you should have some pretty healthy plants if you do this. Now, I mentioned earlier that I've used worm castings tea bags before, and this is a pre-prepared tea. Now, if you want to make your own worm castings tea, you can do it at home as well. So to get started, you need a bucket, you need worm castings, and you need water. Now the bubbler is optional, and the blackstrap molasses is optional as well. So just throwing that out there with you. I'm going to share the ingredients, the instructions, and just the basics on how to get started. So if you have a 5-gallon bucket, you want approximately 5 to 6 cups of worm castings. If you are purchasing pre-prepared tea bags, you're going to want to follow the instructions there. The ladies at KNC Worm Farm, who were gracious enough to share this information with me so that I can share it with you, they have tea bags pre-prepared, and each tea bag will give you 2 gallons. So you're going to take 2 gallons of regular water in a bucket and a tea bag. So depending on what you're using, this recipe might change. So for a 5-gallon bucket, so if you want 5 gallons of this, you're going to need a 5-gallon bucket. You're going to need obviously 5 gallons of water and 4 to 6 cups of worm castings. And if you're using molasses, you're going to use 3 tablespoons of molasses. Now, a quick information on the water you're going to be using. We use well water. If you have chlorinated water, you're going to need to find a better solution, either filtered water, or if you have another option, I hate to say bottled water, but if you have a filter to remove that chlorine, you don't want to use chlorinated water when you're making your worm castings, and you don't want to use water softened water. So if you have a water softener filter on your house, you're going to want to use water maybe outside that doesn't go through that filtration process, because that may affect your worm tea outcome. So you're going to take the worm castings and you're going to put them in a porous bag. You can use you could use pretty much anything. You can use a rag if you really want to, but you can also use cheesecloth, or they make cotton bags specifically for this application, and that's another option as well. And you're going to, or if you don't have any of that options, you can just throw everything in a bucket, and then you can use some sort of porous material and pour your tea through it to filter out any of the pieces. Now, you can use the bubbler, and it's going to be anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to use the brewing process, and then you're all set. You can start using it. Now, there's a couple ways that you can apply the worm castings tea or worm tea to your garden. You can just take this stuff and put it in a watering can. You can use just a pouring by the jug. You can use a spray bottle as a foliar feed, or you can use one of those large sprayer applicators. Sometimes you see them, they're large and they're on a backpack. So if you aren't on Facebook, you might not see it. But the ladies at KNC Worm Farm have a fantastic Facebook page, and I'm going to share the link in the description section of this video. The ladies have some amazingly informative videos of them applying their worm castings tea to trees, to yards, to the lawn, and they show the before and after, and this is an important one, of a Japanese beetle infestation. So if you've ever seen a beautiful green lush lawn, and then you see these big brown pieces of brown lawn, and it just doesn't look very good, chances are you might have a grub infestation. And those little ugly grubs, they're little white squirmy things with a black head on top. I feed them to my chickens and they love them, but those grubs turn into Japanese beetles, and those Japanese beetles can completely destroy your garden. They can eat your fruit off your trees, and so using worm castings tea can help deter the grubs in your lawn or in your garden, and help prevent losing some of your precious harvest from your trees and from your vegetable gardens. So I hope you have enjoyed this simple, easy, and straightforward discussion about worm castings, worm poop to make tea. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I'm happy to help. As I mentioned before, in the description of this video, you will find a link to my comprehensive planting guide, a sign-up link if you want to receive my emails, and then a link to KNC Worm Farm's Facebook page, as well as their website. If you're interested in purchasing their tea bags or their worm tea, definitely reach out to them. If you have specific questions about worm castings tea, they can also answer your questions as well. Please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to our video if you get a chance. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, signing off, and happy planting.